In this video, we are going to learn how to use roles and permissions to control access to functions and objects in Control Hub. We recommend you first watch the Users and Groups video before continuing. A role in Control Hub provides users access to a specific function. Roles allow you to customize the tasks that users can perform. To enable groups and users to perform cross-functional tasks, you must assign them multiple roles. For example, to enable a group to create a job for a pipeline and start the job, the group requires both the job editor role and either the pipeline user or pipeline editor role. You can find descriptions of each StreamSets role in the Role Description section of the Control Hub documentation. Default roles for new users automatically allow them to complete most tasks in Control Hub. You can use permissions granted through groups to better control organization-wide access. A common scenario is to create functional job roles, such as Data Architect or Data Engineer, as groups. A user who is a Data Architect can be assigned to the Data Architect group, where all of the Data Architect roles will be applied to this user on their next login. In the same way, the Data Engineer is added to the Data Engineer group and will have the Data Engineer roles on their next login. A best practice when using multiple roles in your organization is to eliminate all individual user roles and apply these roles through group assignments. Each group can be customized to allow specific roles. Users can be a part of multiple groups, so each group membership will apply its own roles to that user. Permissions allow access to specific objects in your organization. Permissions determine the access level that users have on objects. By default, only you can access any object you create until you grant permission to another user by sharing the object. When permission enforcement is enabled in the advanced settings for your organization, you can share and grant permissions on objects, such as pipelines, jobs, topologies, etc. You can set different levels of access when you share an object. Permissions include read, write, and execute. These are applied differently depending on the object. Objects in this sense refers to all environments, deployments, engines, jobs, job templates, pipelines, connections, fragments, provisioning agents, scheduled tasks, and topologies. In order to access any of these objects, a user must be granted permission. Refer to the StreamSets Control Hub documentation for details about permissions for different object types. To grant permissions to another user or group to access an object, you must share the object with the user or group. You can do this when creating a new object or sharing an existing object. Sharing with a user allows only that user to access your object. Sharing with a group allows all members of that group to access your object at the permission level you set. Now that we've seen how groups, roles, and permissions are applied to a user's account, let's see a few examples in action. In our first example scenario, one project has 3 different environments for dev, QA, and production. We need to make sure our 4 developers, 2 QA analysts, and our project manager all have the appropriate access. Our developers need access to the dev environment, and they require full access to create and edit all of the required components for the pipelines. They will also need to be alerted when there is an error in the production pipeline and have editing rights to update the pipeline and start and stop jobs. The QA analysts only need read-only access to the QA environment. Our project manager is responsible for moving finished pipelines from one environment to the next, so he will need the appropriate access to create, edit, and run the jobs and pipelines in each of the 3 environments. To do this, we will create 3 groups, 1 for each environment. At the environment level, and for all objects created in this environment, we will add each group. To make sure the dev group can access everything they need, you will need to add them to your deployment, pipelines, connections, etc. Recall that by default, only you can see any objects you create. You must share objects and assign a permission level in order for others to access them. For our next scenario, you will complete a lab activity that will walk you through managing users, groups, roles, and permissions. Now you know how roles and permissions affect a user's access in StreamSets. Thanks for watching.